one big question mark about Ohio State's defense, and it's something Ryan Day did not mention during his recent presser.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here on Wednesday, July 3rd in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. During one of Ryan Day's recent press conference, he touched on numerous positions and things that needed to be evaluated, things that were maybe he was being cautious about or he's a little concerned about. For some reason, he didn't mention one position that I think is very pivotal to overall team success for how good the defense can be. We have seen this position when it's really bad, things have gone really bad for the defense. We have seen this one position where things go great for the defense. This unit plays out of their minds. It's the linebackers. And to me right now, that is the one big question mark on Ohio State's defense. Yes, Ryan Day mentioned a couple other pieces of the defense when talking about things that he still needed to evaluate, but didn't look at the linebackers. And that one kind of concerned me. Now, Ryan Day might be saying what we have seen so far is good enough for us at this position. But what you look at when you look a little bit deeper into what the unit is right now, you have Cody Simon, not going to go over the numbers. That's not needed. We all know what Cody Simon brings to the table, his experience. He is a coach on the field. He is going to be the middle linebacker. He is going to be controlling the entire defense. But outside of Cody Simon, who else do you have on Ohio State's defense that has done anything at linebacker of any significance consistently? Nobody. Sonny Styles was not a linebacker consistently at Ohio State. He was a safety. He was occasionally a cover safety or a nickel corner or a deep safety, one of the two, but he was not a linebacker. So even though we believe that this is his primary position where he should play, he has not done that in college. Outside of that, who is the other guy that's an in-state prospect that people believe will be someone that's going to be in rotation, one of the top three backers at Ohio State? CJ Hicks. You could go back and look at his numbers. It's not his fault for the reasons why he has not played that much. He has been behind guys that are now trying to make NFL teams. Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers, and Cody Simon. He's been behind Cody Simon as well. So he took some time to get his feet under him, get up to speed with the game, figure the thing out, and now he's going to play this year, but he has no experience. Now, some of you have heard me talk about and discuss the receiving room and how outside of Emeka Egbuka, really nobody at Ohio State has significant experience playing the football in college. Yeah, Jayden Ballard has some plays, scored a touchdown or two. Carnell Tate, Brendan Ennis, they've been on the field last year. Even though Jeremiah Smith is a guy that we all believe will do big things at Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka is the only one that has the experience. So it's a very similar conversation. The difference is you're moving a guy from one position to where he should be more natural, but we just don't know exactly what to expect. So for me right now, this is a position of major, major concern. Now, the luxury is for Ohio State is that they don't really play a tough opponent until, let me say, I know it's in October. I know the first 3 or 4 weeks are some cupcakes. I'm not exactly sure when Ohio State and Iowa play off the top of my head, so forgive me for that. I'm trying to pull things up quickly as we discuss this now to get the schedule out correctly. Ohio State doesn't really play a tough opponent. October 12th, October 12th, Ohio State plays Oregon. That is a road game. But outside of that, they don't really play that many tough opponents. Now, the schedule I'm looking at right now is not what I normally see, so I don't know the exact date of the Iowa game. But you got Iowa, you got Nebraska, you got Oregon. Ohio State has a few weeks, 3 weeks until they play, 3 games until they play the Big Ten opponent, the first one in Michigan State. Then they play Iowa, where there's going to be a better or bigger level of competition. The good thing, luxury, is these guys got a few games to get up to speed. Sonny Styles, it's not the speed of the game that's going to be new for him. It's the speed of the game at the linebacker position where you're consistently playing closer to the line of scrimmage. And that's something that's going to be a learning curve for him. I think he can figure it out. I believe CJ Hicks has the ability to figure it out. Cody Simon's already figured that thing out. But I'm going to be really curious to see exactly what happens. Ohio State had a few guys transfer out this year from this position, and those guys that transferred didn't have a lot of experience either. So this is one of those units that, well, you want things to go correctly from the beginning, from the jump. But if they don't, we could be sitting here having some very interesting and important conversations about this unit during the season. So I believe in Simon. I believe in Hicks. I believe in Styles. I believe what I think Hicks can be. I don't have concrete data on the film to say this is what he can be. It's going to be a work in progress. And I know that these guys are not freshmen like Henderson was his freshman year, but it wouldn't shock me if there was a wall that Hicks or Styles hit game 5, game 6, game 7, because it's not only the fact that they're playing consistently at the linebacker position for the first time, but that learning curve, that might be something that they might say, whoa, this is a little bit different than I expected. This was not the type of ball that I was expecting to hit me in this time period. Maybe a little bit more physical, maybe a little bit faster, maybe a little bit more consistent. Yeah, going against guys at Ohio State and practice and in the spring game in fall camp, that's one thing. But when you have somebody on the other side of the ball that's played a lot, that has seen a lot of football, knows your weaknesses, knows how to get newcomers, that is something else. The good thing is, I think eventually Styles and Hicks and Simon will figure it out. Simon's already figured it out. I don't know how quickly or how soon we can say Hicks or Styles will figure this thing out at linebacker. I think Styles will have a shorter learning curve than Hicks will, but I believe they'll figure it out. And honestly, another luxury that they have is having James Laurinaitis, a former multi-time, 3-time consistent All-American. That's so weird to say because it's not normal. This reminds me of what kind of dog he was in the field. They have him to coach them up. And so when things might get tough, where you may have a guy that can coach but didn't play as well as Laurinaitis did, Laurinaitis can figure out this coaching thing and say, well, hey, I remember this situation when I played about 9+ years ago, and say, look, here's how you can combat this. And they can figure things out together on the sideline and then go back out there on the field and put it all together. Now, the linebackers to me are a concern, but I want to be optimistic and believe they'll be able to figure things out this year. But Ryan Day mentioned 2 other positions that he's looking to evaluate. Am I on the same page with Ryan Day? I'll tell you next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Maybe you're like me. You still watch the weather every now and then. We got some rain over the past couple of days here where I live, and baseball is one of those things where I want to go. You buy a ticket, oh man, it got rained out. You can reschedule that thing, but the next time rain might be in the forecast, you're like, wait, let's wait till the very last minute to buy a ticket. Go to Gametime. They have flash deals, they have zone deals, they have all-in pricing, and they got that Gametime ticket coverage where it just helps you be more secure and flexible with what they provide. And they also help you take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Now, Ryan Day was talking about the defensive tackle position and specifically, which I do enjoy, not just focusing on one thing or another, but specifically interior D line. I know it's a D tackle, but interior D line. If you were to look at the defensive ends, we'll do that here in a second. I can understand why Ryan Day has a different thoughts about the D end spot versus the D tackle spot. It's just weird because I'm actually a little bit more comfortable with the D tackle spot than Ryan Day putting it in this grouping in this conversation right now with other positions like wide receiver depth and quarterback right side of the offensive line, where those are major concerns and things that need to be figured out. Ryan Day had this to say about the interior of the D line and why this is something that the team is trying to still figure out. Quote, I think we're still looking to figure out who are going to be the guys inside, the third, the fourth, the fifth defensive interior linemen that we're going to put in the game, end quote. I think that's realistic. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I think that's a healthy way for Ryan Day to view this right now. You're not looking for the top two guys, Ty Hamilton and Tyleik Williams. Those guys, when they decided to stay at Ohio State, everybody and their mama knew that's who the starting D tackles are going to be at Ohio State. Hamilton is trying to do what his brother Devon Hamilton did at Ohio State his last year in Columbus. Tyleik Williams is trying to solidify himself as a future first-round pick, which I believe he can do. But after them, who do you think are the 3, 4, and 5? I think right now, 3 is Hero Canoe, 4 is Caden McDonald, and 5 is Tywone Malone. Yeah, some of y'all might say Jason Moore is going to be in there, but remember, Malone is the guy. Ole Miss transferred the same offseason as Davidson Igmanosin, who was a starting corner at Ohio State last year. I thought Malone was going to be a guy, once he got to Columbus, was going to be a guy who immediately got in rotation. Didn't happen. Not a problem. Sometimes there's a little growing pain. Sometimes there's an issue that, slows down you getting on the field consistently in your new spot of playing football. That's okay. But I do think Malone is one of those guys that it wouldn't shock me if it was Canoe and Malone, not Hero Canoe and Caden McDonald. But with those guys being 3, 4, and 5, and Canoe and McDonald and Malone, I think Canoe is third, and then fourth and fifth could really be interchangeable, at least right now in the offseason. I'm cool with that. Perfectly fine with that. Because you're not asking them to come out there and play 60 snaps a game. No, not at all. You're not really going to have Hamilton and Williams off of the field that much either. So you're not asking them to play an overabundance of snaps. You're not asking them to really play half the snaps of the guys who are starting. No. Hey, homie just need a little break. Can he go out there and just get these three and go out here and play 3, 4, 5 snaps? Yeah, in a row. Yeah. And then if they're still on the field, big boy comes back on. The ones come back on. Why? Because that's just kind of what needs to happen. Here's the issue Ohio State's ran into recently that kind of literally, as we're watching games, I am scratching my head and wondering, how are we seeing this at home, but y'all aren't seeing that there at the game? There's been times when Ohio State's put the backups in, maybe the second lineup or the third guys on the defensive interior of the D line, and next thing you know, it's bam, we're going to run right at you. We know we can't run on the big boys, the ones. We can run on the 2.5s and the 3s. What do you find? Bam, 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 touchdown. And it's very confusing because, like I said, we see this at home. I've even had people ask me and talk about to be probably off air after show saying, why is it we see this, but the coaches don't see this? Not even just simply regarding the D line, but other things going on with the Ohio State's football team. Buddy, I don't know. But ultimately, I am more comfortable with these 3 guys being 3, 4, and 5 than I probably have been with the previous 3, 4, and 5 defensive tackles recently. Now, granted, When you got Michael Hall Jr., who's either a 1 or 2 or a 3, yeah, it's a different level of comfort because that boy was different. But I'm cool with Canu, McDonald, and Malone being 3, 4, and 5. Now, Ryan Day did not mention the defensive ends, and I think it's a completely different conversation than the defensive tackles. You got Jack Sawyer at 1 DN spot. You got Toy Maloa at the other DN spot. And then behind them, the twos, Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Caden Curry, guys that have played quite a bit, have a lot of experience in a backup role, more experience in a backup role than other guys at other schools. Excuse me. And then behind them, you got Mitchell Melton, who has been just hit by the injury bug like crazy during his Ohio State career. But then you also got Edric Houston. Now, I think in that group of 6, Houston is the final guy there to eventually or potentially get on the field. But Edric Houston is not your average freshman defensive end. But also keep this in mind, and I am always reminded when I think about guys when they're coming in their freshman year. It's reminding me about something that Toy Maloa said during a press conference after, and I'll forget if it was in the middle of his freshman year or at the end of his freshman year at Ohio State. He was talking about how, well, what's the biggest thing? The question was, what is the biggest adjustment or thing that surprised you that you kind of realized when you started playing college football? He said, man, these guys are big as Hell. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, big and strong. Yes, they are. And it wasn't big as, it was strong as. Why? Because, granted, there was a different time period. Because I believe I want to say he committed during the COVID. And so, or maybe it was after the COVID in 2021, but it was still that period where a lot of recruiting could not go into action. Whichever one it was, you're looking at a guy in Tuimoloau who's already strong. Not a small guy, not a weak individual. But when you go and when you already have an issue like not being able to work out and lift regularly in high school, cool. Maybe set back a little bit. But then you come to Ohio State and you're in the rotation to play, and they're already trying to figure out what the protocols are going to be going forward. Man, look. This thing is crazy. This thing is absolutely insane. And it makes a lot of sense. Because you're a high school kid, 18 years old, going up against guys that are 19, 20, 21, 22, maybe 23, maybe 24. What are you finding? Not only are they bigger than you, stronger than you, they're quick, they're seasoned, they're vets, and the things that you're trying to counter, they know how to counter your counter. So, yes, it's very difficult. But when it comes to Edric Houston, he's going to be in that third grouping no matter what. I don't see him jumping Mitchell Melton, Caden Curry, or Kenyatta Jackson Jr. in the depth chart. I don't. Maybe you do. I do not. It is not just because he's a freshman. That's a big factor. But the other factor is, and maybe more importantly, maybe more important than the others, the other guys know the defense. They know their role. Mitchell Melton provides a different skill set than the other two guys do in Curry and Jackson Jr. that even Edric Houston does not bring to the table. So he's not only just trying to figure out things as a freshman, he's behind guys that are experienced backups and also have a different skill set than he brings right now. It just makes a whole lot of sense for that to be the case. Now, when you factor in the speed, the power, the strength, being able to know the playbook, yeah, all those are factors too as to why Houston, I don't think, will play that much this year. Will probably redshirt, will probably be a backup in 2025. And then 2026, when Curry and Jackson Jr. are gone, what do you find? That boy get on the field, and he starts busting heads. You know what I would love to see for the Buckeyes safety position is that they have to just busting heads all game long. We know what Ransom and Downs can do. Are we concerned about the depth at the safety position? We'll talk about it next. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. So, when I think about Ohio State safeties, and I have to throw Jordan Hancock in this conversation as well, based off how Ohio State utilizes that nickel corner spot. It is almost like a cover safety. because Ohio State uses a safety-driven defense that is a three-safety alignment. When many of us that have been watching football our whole entire lives, that's a nickel corner or a nickel back, and it's nickel defense. Ohio State just changed the terminology of something that we've been using and talking about our whole entire lives. But also, it allows a little bit more versatility for the guy in the nickel spot. Starting safeties for Ohio State: Lathan Ransom, strong safety; Caleb Downs, free safety; and then the cover safety or nickel corner is Jordan Hancock. Behind them, you have Jaden Bonsu. This is in no particular order. Jaden Bonsu, Malik Hartford, Jalen McClain, Bryce West. No, it's not Bryce West. Jalen McClain, Lorenzo Styles Jr., Miles Lockhart. A lot of freshmen. True freshman in McClain, true freshman in Lockhart, redshirt freshman in Jaden Bonsu. A lot of youth. Malik Hartford is a sophomore, did not redshirt last year, a true sophomore in his own right. This unit here, I do understand why Ryan Day is curious about the safety depth and the things going on with that unit. However, call me crazy, I'm not really sure that it's really that big of a deal right now, because it's only a little bit of a concern. Quote, just to kind of see who those. Wow, let's try this again. Ryan Day said, quote, it's, quote, a little bit, end quote, of a concern. There we go. That was a little bit difficult to get out. Quote, just to kind of see who those next guys are that are going to step up, end quote. Sorry, the words jumbled up once again. But I understand why it's a little bit of a concern. Not major. Not more my hands trying to measure the concern or outside the screen here on the YouTube and on your television or computer or even iPhone. But it's just a small little bit of concern. Because honestly, right now, to me, when I look at the depth chart here, I have no issues with Malik Hartford backing up either strong safety or free safety spot. Lorenzo Styles Jr. could probably play a little bit deep safety, but probably is better suited to fill out and to be more of a Jordan Hancock role. But also keep this in mind. Let's just say CJ Hicks, going back to a conversation we had earlier in the show. Let's just say CJ Hicks is a guy that when he's playing the football, he figures it out quickly. And Simon and Hicks play very well together. They complement each other very well. They read things similarly. They know if I am here, he is there. If he is there, I am here type of thing. They just get it. And let's just say Ryan Day is in a situation where he doesn't want to take Styles off the field, doesn't want to take Hancock off the field. What do you end up having? Pretty much 12 starters. If it's a run-heavy team, are you cool taking Hancock off the field if Styles is out there? That's the conversation that Ohio State's going to have to figure out. Do you want to find a situation? Or maybe it is Hicks and Styles are the best combination at linebacker, and Simon is more of a backup. These are things that are to be determined. But with the safety spot, if your concern's only a little bit, I'm cool with that. And honestly, when you think about who might be backing up, Hartford can play either strong safety or free safety. So whoever, if somebody wants to rest between Ransom and Downs, cool, go ahead and do that. If Hancock needs to move around a little bit, that can happen. Lorenzo Styles Jr., cool. I would caution anybody when it comes to putting a true freshman out there, no matter if it's against Akron or if it's against Michigan. Be very, very, if it's a crucial part of the game, be very, very, very careful. Now, you can get away with it against Akron. You can get away with that against Western Michigan. You can get away with that against certain teams. But last year, there was a situation against Michigan where Ohio State put, I believe it was Malik Hartford in the game out of necessity, put him in, touchdown, and the ball was thrown right, almost in the right spot, right over the shoulder of Hartford. But what happened? Head turned a little bit. Like, it was almost a perfectly defended play, but McCarthy took advantage of an inexperienced player at the safety spot. Boom, threw one of the better balls I've seen him thrown in my lifetime. And I don't like giving compliments to the guy, but I have to when he deserves them. That ball, a touchdown. It was in the red zone too. Touchdown. he took advantage of a very inexperienced guy who was on the field. Wasn't like he had been there for a consistent amount of time on that drive. No, he just got there and said, you here? Take advantage of it. So the luxury, once again, for Ohio State, you have an All-American in Caleb Downs. You have a guy who is an All-American in, well, he could be in Lathan Ransom. Jordan Hancock, to me, is one of those guys that may not get all the attention on defense, but should get more. To me, he's going to get drafted. And so I'm not really worried about the safety depth, honestly. I am not at all. Now, here's where things get interesting. And this is a conversation I don't want to have, but we need to have. With the way Ohio State's been hit with the injury bug over the past few years under Ryan Day, and this is not just saying last year or the previous year or 2023 or 2022, even Justin Hilliard. Now, he had injuries prior to Ryan Day getting the head coaching job, but Justin Hilliard, to me, was it 2020? He was one of the better linebackers on the team. Like, he should have been out there more than he was. If you want me to tell me Justin Hilliard was a better backer than, what's his name? I forget. Tough Borland? No, never. Now, you put Baron Browning in an inside backer, cool. You put Hilliard and Werner out there, I think that defense is better. Even though it's a little bit of a transition period, that defense would have been better. And so with this defense now at safety, if there is a guy or two or three that get hit with the injury bug, that's where depth comes into play. And that has to be a realistic conversation that you have to have. Because Lathan Ransom has had multiple, well, I say season ending. One of them was in the last game of the year, and he was able to play in the very next year. But 2021 season, 2022 Rose Bowl, broke his leg. I believe it was a kickoff. He ended up being able to play every game coming up in that 2022 season. Last year, he got an injury that knocked him out for the season. Now he's healthy and back out there, but you have to be a little bit concerned because it's not just him. Egbuka's been hurt. Marv's been hurt, still played a little bit. McCord's been hurt. Brown's been hurt. Mayan's been hurt. Trevion Henderson's been hurt. You get the gist. This injury bug has hit this team like I've never really seen a team get hit with the injury bug before. It's consistent. It's not 1 year or 2 years. No, you're losing some of your key guys, some of your main starters. Why? Due to injury. And nobody truly has an explanation why. Yeah, sometimes freak things happen, but you're Ohio State. You would think over a period of time, the nutrition program would be a little bit different. The strength and conditioning would be altered a little bit. And also, keep in mind, some players just get hit with that. It's just something that happens. So I'm not really sure exactly what the cause is, but I do know this, that safeties, I am cool with. D tackles, I am cool with. Linebackers, I am concerned. Throw out the high school film. That don't mean nothing right now. Sonny Styles' film at safety was pretty good. It's not linebacker film. Cody Simon, solid. I don't know if at the end of the year if he'll be one of the top two backs at Ohio State. Linebackers. Just being honest with you. Oh, want some more honesty? It's about a big thing and a good thing Locked On recently launched. It's the first ever National Sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus. Our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on a Wednesday. We'll see you next time.